How are you,
David,
everyone?
hello, David. How are you?
You hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to welcome each and every one of you. Great honor with you tonight. And I see a good number of people have already turned up. Great pleasure for me. My name is David Atem, your MC tonight. I want to welcome each and every one of you. We are going to start right away with traditional acknowledgements and related remark from Tasha Split Summer. If you are around, give you a floor to lead us with this.
Good evening, everyone. Watching in Totemik Wapila Measquan Degasun Wapi Maswan. Oh, am I being heard? Yeah? Okay. I give you a very quick introduction to myself, who I am, the nation that I belong to, and the territory that I belong to. And of course, we know as people of expansive kinship systems that these words hold much meaning. So they talk about who I am in relation to my nation and the roles and responsibilities that that relationship holds, as well as with the land as an animate relative of ours, and the clan that I belong to, all holding me to account to those things. And then also giving you all a way to contextualize the relationship that we are now entering into. And it will be a short one on my end because I have a baby that needs to be fed dinner and put to bed. So I was asked by my friend Kathy to come on and share the land acknowledgement. Land acknowledgements can be tricky at times because they're very popular. We hear them at the beginning of academic and community, even sporting events to open the event. But sometimes they just kind of flutter around our ears and then off into the ethos. But what is really more important than the words themselves is to understand how we are all held into account of those relationships. And we know that relationships are the glue of those relationships are actions. And so the words are just to remind us to treat one another as relatives, to also acknowledge that, as Indigenous people, we have specific historic, political, cultural, and contemporary relationships with our home territories, which should and always be at the premise of every other relationship that happens after. And so here I understand that people are joining from other parts of the land, but here I'm joining you from Treaty 1 territory, the homeland of the Inninawak, the Anishinaabe, the Dakota, the Dene, the Oji-Cree, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. And so, we hear often territorial acknowledgements like that, but should also be reminded that we are as people who have come here and now share this space, that we are all responsible for ensuring that Indigenous people have equitable and just lives as we are entitled to have on our homelands, and that we are responsible for really courageously looking at the past and ensuring that we move forward in the ways that affirm the lives of Indigenous people and our homelands. And it would be we can't here now and present as the uncovering and recovering of so many children who were, lives were taken at Indian residential schools. I think that now more than ever, our attention should be on the actions of these land acknowledgements. How do we ensure, that these things don't occur? And of course, as a mother, I'm so viscerally connected with ensuring that my daughter can live the life that she's entitled to live within her birthright, to understand her cultural identity, and also to live freely, to live a liberated existence here on her homeland. And I call on all people to affirm that, to help make sure, our elders talk about how we are, of course, we grieve the children who were taken at Indian residential school, but currently, the children, Indigenous children, are overrepresented in the child welfare system and other colonial systems. And so, talks of reconciliation are often at the forefront of conversations like this, but how do we reconcile that which continues? And so the first and foremost, we have to end the brutality of the state that the state continues to inflict on Indigenous minds and bodies and spirits in our communities and our homelands. And so that's what this work is. It's ensuring that in our relationships, not just in words, but in actions, in every facet of our communities, we're doing anti-racist, liberatory, decolonial work. And so I thank you for all those who are sharing their energy tonight. And I send my apologies, but my 17-month-old runs my life. And so I have to pop off, feed her dinner, and put that little baby to bed. So thank you, and I will for sure connect with my friend and relative Kathy after to see how the rest of the evening went. So thank you to the host and to everyone who's gathered here. And I see so many familiar faces, so I'm sure I will see you all again soon. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Blessing word. We as a people who came to this country are privileged to be part of this territory that you are giving an acknowledgement, be part of this culture that you are giving an acknowledgement. And so we are part of you. That's why we put you in front of the program, that you attach us to the land. You attach us to the people. You attach us to the spirit. So we are very thankful for that. And now this brings us to the next part of the program. As I said in the very beginning, my name is David Atem. Will be your MC tonight. I was honored to come and do this. But my honoring is not important. It's your attendance is what is important to me. So that I can connect to people like you, listen to people like Natasha. Those things are rarely found unless you come to people. That's where you get them from people. So today's event is a very important event. It's attached to historical struggle. So I want to give a brief enlightening the importance of today's event. It's about Emancipation Day. And this day is a day that is connecting us as a people in a way that it's a day that end the slavery. And this was in 1833, and when that date was become August 1st. Today we are celebrating it on July of 29, and the day, official day, is to mark August 1st. So we did it earlier, but it doesn't matter. We are still reconnecting to the day in the same way. So this day is very important. It is the day that when the slavery was ended, the world. And it was not only in Africa, it was around the world in Caribbean, South America, entire part of Africa. So that this day is very important and is celebrated annually. And so we are participating as a way to bring younger one. And when I'm talking about younger one, I'm talking of our youth, we are talking of our children. We want to make them relate to the day because this is a very important day that will relate to them because it has been relating, this day has related to grandfathers and mothers. So briefly, that is about today, and we are connecting it to the center, the host center, which is Balala Community Center, a center that I was privileged 3 years ago when I started coming here through my work. come and give presentation about university program. And so from that point, I remain connected to the center, and that's how the center got hold of me. So with that few remarks on the Emancipation Day, I'm going to call upon the executive director of this Balala Community Center, which is, I always call him, I go by Omar, which is Mr. Omar, to come and give a welcoming remark. So the floor is yours, Omar.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Bilal Community and Family Center, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome our distinguished guests, dignitaries, community elders, and community members who are with here tonight. Welcome all to this historic event. We are very grateful for your time and for accepting our invitations and for taking the time to join us. And we're also very grateful to the Canadian Heritage Department for selecting us to serve and as the host for this historic event that we are celebrating for the Canada's first official Emancipation Day celebration. On behalf of Manitoba, we are organizing this event on behalf of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta Black-led organizations. So thank you, Canadian Heritage team, for your trust and for your continuous support. And here at Bilal, we strive to build positive relationships and intercultural relationships. We stand with in solidarity with our indigenous people, our hosts in this country. And also we work with our Winnipeggers to ensure that our communities thrive together. You know, the Emancipation Day celebrations are in line with our mission and with our mandate, as we dedicated ourselves to combating racism and oppression and helping those who need culturally and linguistically appropriate support. Because we do believe such support can help people transition from struggle to success. And in this event tonight, we're hoping that it will be inspiring and illuminating. And I'm confident that this intercultural discussions and dialogues will help us embrace our diversity as a source of strength and not a weakness. So thank you, everyone, and welcome to this event. I am looking forward to your speech, remarks, and comments. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's a very inspiring message. Very short and brief and meaningful. Thanks a lot. I really appreciated that. Now, we use in such a kind of, this kind of gathering, we used to talk about housekeeping. Today we are going to talk about Zoom keeping because it's not an housekeeping anymore. In case if you have a comment of anything, just jot it down there in the chat. Our team will bring it up and we will address it as we move forward. And with this, I'm going to acknowledge few individual distinguished guests that are going to be, some of them are going to be giving a remark tonight. I'm going to acknowledge them. And so give me 1 second to do so. And I will start with Sarah Gilmar, is the Minister of Conservation and Climate. I also have Mark Chambers, Winnipeg City Council. I have Zuma Agrawanga, MLA. I have Jimmy Moss, MLA. I have Marcy Marcusa, Radio Information Host, TVC News. I have Ali Abukar, CEO in the Saskatchewan Open Door Society. I have Judy Williams, which is a project officer for Municipal Relations Department and Province of Manitoba. So welcome all. We are privileged to have you tonight. I believe all of you will be giving a remark, and your presence here is acknowledged. Thank you for showing up and giving us a few of your time to come and share with us. The last but not least is our guest speaker tonight, which is Warren Clark, is professor at the Department of Anthropology at the University of Manitoba. And so welcome, and You are our keynote speaker tonight, and we are very happy to have you. Now, moving forward, I'm going to go into the program right away because time is against us. I will also, one of the Zoom keeping is a timing. So when you say 5 minutes, 5 minutes, please. If it is 3.5, 3.5, such that we can allow everyone to say at least something. So our next person to perform is Safira McLeod. She's a poetry and Jamaica art. If you want to say, while I call each and every one of you, want to say something about yourself, do please. We haven't taken any brief bio from each and every person. So Safira McLeod, you are highly welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. It's a pleasure to be here and I'm honored. In keeping with the Zoom keeping, I won't hold y'all too long. As he mentioned, my name is Safira McLeod. I'm based here in Treaty 1. I'm a poet. When I write, I go by Opal Rose White in order to honor my mother and my grandmother and hold room for the matriarchs in my life. This Emancipation Day is so special. Like, I'm very privileged to be here. I'm very honored to have been asked to present tonight. What I enjoy about this event the most is how there is a focus on understanding how far we've come and thinking about how we would like to proceed going forward. I feel like in honor of, or to honor the abolitionist work that's gone on before us and to continually strive for freedom and understand that striving for freedom is a constant struggle and being willing to do that work. I feel like in order to be free and get free, you have to understand what and where your limitations lie. And so this poem that I'm about to present to you, I wrote from a place of power as a guidebook and as encouragement for folks like me. I'm first Jamaican descent. I am, sorry. I'm a little nervous, but I'm happy to be here. No, I am Canadian of first generation Canadian of Jamaican descent, and being Black in Canada, being a woman in Canada, and circumventing those identities and watching the world navigate around you inspired this poem. And so I would like to deliver this to all the young people like me, using the freedom that was given to me. So without further ado, this is Juno, also titled as Prairie Black Girl. It goes, I fought so hard to create space for being, for laughing, for playing, for finding the beauty in being a Black girl. Now that I am, now that it is finally time to be a woman, I do not wish to relinquish her. They say this name is my inheritance, a gift passed down to me and from me to you. See, she reached deep down into the cavity of her chest and pulled out a box of silence. I was told, in this box are the things that I am and the things that I am not. She said, I am not Mara, for I am not to be wounded. I am not to be marred to heal the wounded. But know these tears are healing streams. She said, I am that I am, but not what you must be. She said, in this box is everything you need to get free. See, what this box contains is ever-changing for a prairie Black girl. Sometimes this box contains steel hard enough to bear the CN's mightiest trains. In this box sometimes contains a softness that rivals the peach pastels draped on a winter morning's cloud. See, just like the morning, the rarity of its beauty can be found by anyone willing, dedicated enough to make the time, to grant it space. This box sometimes has the challenge of housing a brilliance as blinding as the sun. Ideas and personality, voice, threatening to burst from its seams, held back ever unstably with a sticker, the burden of being labeled too much. See, my favorite thing about being a Prairie Black girl is growing into woman. It's watching and feeling and seeing the expansion, the emancipation of self until the box breaks and I witness the world change. It is the refined gold that drips and cascades from my supernova form. Opulence incarnates. See, the Prairie Black woman can eclipse even the brightest of perihelia with the choice ease of her grace. The remnants of all that was, of all the box thought it could hold, now food, nourishment, in the form of lessons for the next batch of ever lovely, ever watching, ever beautiful Prairie Black girls. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to that. I feel like to reiterate, there is so much power in who we are, how we've come to these lands and who we share these lands with. And if we're really looking at emancipation and what that means, it's in part finding strength in who we are. It's in part understanding that our Black liberation is tied so directly with Indigenous sovereignty. It's making space for us both to coincide. And so I'm glad that I was able to share this poem with you, where I find strength and where those identities overlap within myself. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very rich contents in contact. You know, very beginning, I hear the phrase, we fought so hard to create this space. That's exactly what we are dealing with. Whether at work, at home, on the road, at a store, in any places, we fought so hard to create a space. The people before us did the same thing. That's why we have August 1st. That's why we have the name of Emancipation Day. It was because of that fight. So it resonates with what we are doing, and thank you so much. I really appreciate what you said. The burden of being level, and I'm quoting you, is another element. So thank you for this. You created a platform, and I believe many people that are in this today event, they heard about you, and they will continue to hear about you by allowing you to participate in this kind of event, by inviting you to share the platform with the younger one. So thank you so much. This moves us to the next speaker, one of the distinguished and notable speakers that I have already mentioned. Privileged to see her. First time maybe, I haven't met her. But the name is very familiar in the media. It's Sarah Gilmark. Brief remark on behalf of the government of Manitoba. Highly welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Atom, and all the other distinguished guests. I really want to acknowledge and thank Ms. McLeod for that poem. I do appreciate hearing from your heart, from your life, from your experience, and I think that is just an opportunity and a gift for others to also grow in understanding and appreciation for the freedoms that are afforded all of us, and for the freedoms that are still being fought for by many people. So I appreciate that, and thank you again for sharing that. I too would like to acknowledge that I am joining you from Treaty 1 territory, and the land that we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. And although that was previously mentioned by Tasha Spillett, that that tends to be a common opening and sharing from my heart and from what I have been walking through for the last few years, and certainly more recently as a mother of 4 children. I will never understand or truly appreciate the atrocities that families have experienced with their children being removed from their loving homes and essentially being told that their culture and their identity is unacceptable. And although I will never understand that, I will stand in solidarity with those who are looking for healing, and I will be a part of the reconciliation moving forward. And having said that, I just want to also send regrets on behalf of Minister Cox, who really wanted to join you tonight, was unable to attend. But I certainly am very privileged and honored to join you tonight to be a part of your event tonight. So thank you first and foremost to the board and staff of the Bilal Community and Family Center for the opportunity to say a few words today. The recognition of Emancipation Day on August 1st is an opportunity for Manitobans and all Canadians from coast to coast to demonstrate their willingness to confront the realities and trauma caused by slavery. It is also an occasion to recognize and celebrate the many contributions of people from African descent in Canada. This past year alone, while we have all faced challenges as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have witnessed many emerging leaders come forward to speak of their experiences, to share their accomplishments, and to demonstrate resilience in the face of challenges resulting from racism. Emancipation Day is a reminder that Black history, culture, and identity are an integral part of Canada, Manitoba's heritage, and our future. We welcome and embrace the diversity within the Black community, and we celebrate the role it has played in forming our collective identity. August 1st is an opportunity to increase our awareness of the contributions made by the people of African descent. It is a time for all of us to acknowledge the ongoing work within Black communities that advance the overall well-being of our province, our country, and indeed our entire world. This is also a time for reflection and recognition in that our actions today can elevate voices in our community that have been historically disadvantaged. It is incumbent on all of us, locally and globally, to develop a vision of shared success and to commit to a future based on equality, mutual respect, and diversity. Acknowledging and embracing the richness of Manitoba's diverse population strengthens inclusion and multiculturalism nationwide. So once again, I congratulate the board, staff, and volunteers of the Bilal Community Center for hosting a safe, proud, joyful, and memorable Emancipation Day celebration. Thank you very much, Miigwech.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. That's a very rich statement, very rich in a sense that you centered it, need of our situation as a people, Winnipeg in Manitoba. Really appreciate that. And it's good sometimes when a people, representative of the government, talk from the perspective of the people that are affected. That's very good. And so you presented it, you portrayed it in 2 ways, by knowing that the harm that was done by the colonial way of reversing the nature of the people, and then also the racism that is also targeting people, especially in our home, not only far away from us. So thank you for the message. I really appreciate that. And I think the Balala community is honored to have you tonight. For us to move forward, I'm going to call one of our MLA who was already acknowledged in my keynote speakers, which is notable list of the keynote speakers. And this person is Zuma Azagwara. Bring a greeting or a few remarks on her behalf and as an MLA. He's also a person that I know personally too. So you are welcome if you are in the attendance.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, David. Good to see you again, even virtually. My name is Uzoma, as already announced. My pronouns are they, them. Very honored to be here this evening. I can't say thank you enough to Bilal Community and Family Center and all folks involved for your tremendous efforts to host this gathering today. It's one thing to be recognized as the organization that would host this historic event. It's another thing to put together an event so thoughtfully, so intentionally, and in a way that truly reflects and represents the diversity within Black communities. And I have to say I'm so humbled already in the programming to be able to hold space with everyone who took the time to be here this evening. And the way that this event has opened is really beautiful. And it speaks to the immense talent and beauty in our communities. I'm a big fan of Tasha Spillett and Sapphire. So, I was kind of like, oh, this is amazing. This is what an amazing way to start this. And those words really resonate. So I just want to say a big thank you to all of the folks who contributed to making this evening happen, and also to all of the folks in our communities historically and now who do the heavy lifting to push back against racism and anti-Black racism, anti-Indigenous racism, systemic discrimination, white supremacy, all of the things that are very real, that we have to be able to name and identify in order to dismantle and move forward in the direction of true equity. And I'm proud to be somebody who works alongside some pretty great people in our NDP caucus who believe in doing that heavy lifting, who are doing that heavy lifting. I'm honored to be able to represent a very diverse constituency of Union Station that certainly many folks are impacted by the very things that we are impacted by in society today. And so, I really look forward to the remainder of the programming. I can't stay the whole time, but I certainly look forward to watching what I'm not able to see on YouTube. And, on behalf of the members of our caucus who could not attend this evening, just want to say thank you. This is a historic event, and it's an important event in terms of educating and informing people about not only the history, but also in regards to where we need to go. That is critically important. So thank you so much to everyone for joining. And the last point I want to make as well is I think it speaks to where we are and where we're going and how positive that is when we look at who's in this space right now and the intention around making sure that there's a representation of different ages, of different genders, of different experiences right here in this space. And, that doesn't happen by accident. And so to me, that's very inspiring and affirming. And I look forward to seeing all of the work that's going to happen moving forward. So thank you for allowing me a couple of moments to speak, and well wishes to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now that you are a true liberator. I know you very well. Fought every ground that you want to. And I know people that you represented are well represented because of education. So thank you for that. This brings us to the next speaker. Time-wise, we are good. I don't know how did people, these great people that are selected, the speakers, to be mindful of time like this. Did you guys talk to each other? My God, that's good. Next time, if Valala community asks me to be an MC, I will ask for your name first. So and so is in the list, and when you are there, I will come. Now, one quick recap that I need to do here. I'm not part of this organization. I want to say this, but I'm attached to this organization because of what they do in the community. I want you to pay a visit when time allowed. When situation is normal, pay a visit here. You'll see something that you don't see anywhere. It's a community, it's a school, is a religious place, is anything. And so through my work, I used to come here and talk to the younger one, educate them about what they need to know to come to university, how to choose career, what courses they can take. And then I become attached to this center in that way. So I think each and every one of you who is doing some work in the community, I would encourage you to do. Now I'm taking away the minutes from the program, but it was for the good cause. This brings us to keynote speaker, Professor Warren Clark. Now look at the changes that had occurred because of pandemic. We used to have a keynote speaker at the last when we are sitting in person, but because of Zoom rules, we are putting we took the privilege to take the keynote speaker everywhere. But we would have left it to the last of the program when we are sitting together, take a break in the middle, come back, and then we have that. So I'm going to welcome Professor Warren Clark to the Department of Anthropology at the University of Manitoba to come and have a few remarks. I have 15 minutes noted down because of that, and I will be strict to time, but I know I already acknowledge many of you have speak within time, so I don't worry. So you are highly welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, and thanks for having me. My name is Warren Clark. I'm very honored to be here and be your keynote speaker this evening. I am not in Winnipeg yet. I will be residing in Winnipeg in the next few weeks, so I look forward to meeting, if not all of you, many of you, in very soon. I also am very honored for the Bilal Community and Family Center for signing me out and asking me to give a keynote address this evening. One of the things that I do as a academic is very similar to the Bilal Community Family Center, who I will have the opportunity of meeting and visiting the community center very soon. But for the things that I've been able to do in Ottawa, particularly at Carleton University, is establish a community organization that focuses on the social, academic, and economic development and political development of African descent students within the Ottawa region, which is very similar to what, again, Bilal Community Family Center is doing. But one of the things that I really want to touch on and pay homage to is their core values, the Bilal Community and Family Center's core values, which is teamwork, empathy, leadership, diversity, education, and people. As I mentioned, I've never visited their community organization, but one of the things that I noticed and I've come to know in viewing the pictures and reading the frameworks involved or the descriptions is that they're taking an active approach and an intentional approach in creating that relational solidarity within the community. One of the terms that I will be employing in this talk is ACB, meaning Afro-Caribbean Black. In doing so, I want to encompass and acknowledge that Blackness is not received the same among all African descent people. And in saying that, in viewing what I've been seeing, particularly on the website of the Bilal Community and Family Centers, they're taking that approach too, to appreciate diversity, appreciate the different facets of how people appreciate their Blackness or African descentness. So framing this discussion, I'll be very candid, folks. I do like to talk. I've been told I talk a lot, but talk with sense. I trust that I will entertain you as I'm talking and keep you engaged. But one of the things I want to acknowledge people to think through critically is that we need to frame this conversation, this necessary but tough discussion to try to push things forward. One of the things that I've been listening to speakers spoke before me is the theme of, how do we push these narratives forward? So the three things I want to discuss and focus on today is the impact of colonization, recognizing the Canadian culture, and what can we do? Well, I also want to leave folks they're here tonight with something I call the 3 Ps, which we'll get to in a moment. One of the framings that I would like to also employ within this conversation, and yes, folks, I like dropping those academic gems as I go along, because it's important to inspire folks, young and our elders. The work of Frantz Fanon, does that ring a bell? Shaking of heads? Oh, there we go, excellent. I saw Sapphire shaking her head. So the reason why I employ Frantz Fanon in this conversation is because I'm going to read something here. Fanon has, mentions. He says, sometimes people hold a core belief that is very strong. When they are presented with evidence that works against that belief, the new evidence cannot be accepted. It would create a feeling that is extremely uncomfortable, called cognitive dissonance. And because it is so important to protect the core belief, they will rationalize, ignore, and even deny anything that doesn't fit in their core beliefs. I bring this up because with my research, I'm very in tune of what I focus on the experiences of Afro-Caribbean Black marginalized young men in Ontario and Quebec, and their utilization of employment training programs in both of these provinces. And one of the things that I focus on is how can we employ, for example, and using Fanon, how can you employ his narrative, his approach to dismantling colonization and using a decolonization approach? But in saying that, it's also important to recognize why things haven't changed, why things aren't moving as fast as we want to see them to move in terms of the liberation for African descent people in this country. I do want to acknowledge that there are and there have been movement. For example, Wanda Bernard Thomas, our first tenure-track position academic at Dalhousie University. The great accomplishments of Dr. Carl James, Dr. Tamari Katosa, and Dr. Sian Wilson, who continue to push a narrative of addressing anti-Black racism from a Canadian perspective. Yet still, Afro-Caribbean Black Canadians experience a sense of unbelonging in the Canadian white settler nation state, which is more at times anti-Black. But when we talk about the white settler nation state, and we've been mentioning this throughout the program thus far, is Canada was a country that was taken away from Indigenous peoples dating back as far as the 16th century. And this makes Canada a white settler nation state. But when we talk about colonization, what I'm speaking about here is a process and the white settler dominance that was exploitive and still is, but serves to control this narrative, masking colonial practices as mythical. What does that mean? Well, these are good questions you asked, since I've asked a question for you on your behalf. Well, we've just recently learned, or we didn't recently, I shouldn't say that respectfully, that we've come to know that the missing Indigenous children were not a myth. It actually happened. We also know from time and time again from stories from our elders, particularly in the east coast of our Canada, the displacement of African Nova Scotians, particularly Africville. When we employ Fanon now, please let me drop this gem for folks, please. He reminds us that colonization has a strong hold on the colonized and ensures that they obey and fit into the social system which is created. It's a systemized negation of the other and the frenzied determination to deny the other any attribute of humanity. Fanon forces to critically engage that colonialism is a process that causes delusional impact on the colonized. A vulnerability virtually visible to the naked eye. For example, he mentions that as a result of social systems, including religion, colonized peoples hold beliefs about the extreme harms of colonization. It enables a form of fatalism that relieves the oppressor of all responsibility, since a cause of wrongdoing, poverty, and inevitable can be attributed to God. Thus, among other social facets, religion impacts the thinking of the colonized, creating and maintaining that the belief that the colonist is not to be blamed of the social oppression. Now, when I talk about this thing called social discourse, I'm referring it to be how we think, communicate about people, things, and social organizations of society, and the relationship among these three. In doing so, how it produces much of what occurs within us and within society. So when I get employing this sense of colonization, and we know that the white settlers colonized this place called Canada, we also have to think through that it was their white settler social discourse, which is anti-Black and doesn't recognize ACB people and their cultures and their histories as significant as theirs. And in doing so, this is the establishment of their social, political, and economic way of living. But the question still remains, can we decolonize what we have adopted? The truth, folks, is we inherit past exclusions and we see them as normal. We do so because we practice social oppressions that have been given to us from the past. Now I'm going to employ another word here, folks, and I don't do this to bring people back to anthropology 101, but it's important to think through from an epistemological approach. What is epistemology, you ask? Good question. Well, epistemology is the study of how we know things. How do you know what it means to be Canadian? How do you know what you know to be true? Where does this come from? Have you questioned these things in your mind of what it means to be Canadian? Or are you falling victim to the propaganda that has been given to you from the past? We know that what Canada does to racialize, and I want to acknowledge that when I use racialize, I am also acknowledging that racialized people have their own individuality. The one thing we do very well from a Canadian perspective, David, I think I'm on time, by the way. The one thing we do on a Canadian perspective is we homogenize people's lived experiences. We group them together. What do I mean by that? Well, here's the example. Visible minorities versus majority. Wait a minute. POCs? Oh, the new one, BIPOC. We need to critically engage when we are racializing people, we are homogenizing their lived experiences. We're stripping them of their identity because we're using the language of the colonizer. But I want to put things in perspective, folks. No, not all white people are racist. It's the white settler colonists that set the tone historically of how we ought to behave and communicate in a Canadian nation state. As I mentioned, after the arrival of white European colonial settlers, it was a Canadian nation state that began to be fashioned by them, establishing the political, economic, and social way of living. Here's another gem, folks. Take note. Here we go. Sarah Ahmed, in A Phenomenology of Whiteness, brings attention to how whiteness as a social discourse has been normalized in Western civilizations. It's a social discourse of whiteness that shapes our thinking and behavior as we practice whiteness in our social settings. But before I leave this evening, because I want to ensure I give space and not take too much space this evening, I want to leave folks with the 3 Ps and then some recommendations on how we push things forward. When we talk about these 3 Ps, or I mention them based on personal, professional, and political. And what I mean by personal, we need to be aware that we need to encourage ourselves to be open-minded and culturally competent when we want to be anti-oppressive or anti-racist. But hold on, there's more than one racism. You can never know all racisms. You can never know all cultures, but you can be competent by being open-minded to know them. Embrace your ignorance. We have to be comfortable in building relationships with people who have very different lived experience than we have. When we think about the professional, we should also recognize there are legal requirements under Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom in the, well, here in Ontario, I'm sure in Manitoba, the Human Rights Code outlines human rights and freedom for entitlement. We shouldn't lose sight of that. Yet we do at times. And political, please know that all oppressive and anti-race and racist issues are connected both to each other and the larger system that is the society and community of Canada and the world. Certain groups are valued and others are not valued. And in order to change this at the political level, engagement, mobilization, and other forms of promoting systemic and political change must be ongoing. To bring my talk to a close, I encourage folks who are listening, be open-minded. Create a true sense of a relational solidarity among non-racialized and racialized people, but also caveating, mentioning that racialized people do have their own individuality. Take from the Bilal Community Family Center of their active approach and not passive approach to build teamwork, empathy, leadership, diversity, and educating people. And folks, for a little bit of humor, only you can prevent forest fires. Thank you very much, folks. Have a good evening. Thanks for having me. Much appreciated.
Wow. Wow. The good thing is you are speaking at a distance, but you are coming to Manitoba. So we will benefit a lot from you as you move closer to us. Thank you so much, Professor Clark. This is unbelievable. I personally am getting away with 3 pieces for my personal use, not for the community of Bilal. And one thing that I like about your presentation is the fact that you have touched on both aspects of the impact of colonization, and the fact that you mentioned not all the white people are racist make a lot of sense. That's not everybody is doing that. And that shows is also show the fact that we as a people are affected regardless of how we look. We are all affected. So really, this is a very good message, and I'm very happy. We'll have more of you in the future. So with that, I'm going to move to the next speaker. But what I will do, I will skip one speaker and then ask the next speaker after the one that I will be skipping to speak, because this person might be having other commitment. So I'm going to revert that. So the person I'm skipping is Akim Kanu. Our comedy, Wait for Us. It's a 3-minute apart. And then I'm going to invite Jimmy Moses to bring greeting and a brief remark. So Jimmy, highly welcome.
Good evening, everyone. So glad to be here. And thank you so much to the speakers before me. Warren, Mr. Clark, that was amazing. Thank you so much for your presentation, and all the speakers before me. I think this is so far the right way to celebrate Emancipation Day. The power, the energy, the passion that is shown already right here in this virtual gathering is the essential aspect that I think is pushing the need for Emancipation Day to be recognized further in our communities forward. For those who don't know, I am Jamie Moses. I'm the MLA for St. Vital. And I was proudly able to work with community groups in Manitoba here to introduce this year in our legislature in Manitoba the Emancipation Day Act, Bill 232. I introduced it with the support of community who was advocating and pushing for Emancipation Day to be recognized, because it's so important, because it is a celebration of freedom. It's that celebration recognizing that slavery was here in Canada and understanding that history, seeing how that history relates to our present day struggles, and then using that as educational tools to allow us to better our future and better the future of the ones who are coming after us. You know, for so many years, I think the notion of slavery in Canada, specifically Black enslaved people, wasn't really talked about and wasn't known. And it's time, along with this conversation, as well as the conversation around in residential schools and many of the historically tragical prejudice that Indigenous people have faced, that we understand that this history is part of Canada. It's a part of all of our Canadian history. And it's important that we recognize it, talk about it, and understand it, and live in it, and learn how to make our country better for our future. So we know that the impacts of people in this virtual call, the people who are watching this, wouldn't be possible without Emancipation Day. Without our freedom setting us up, we wouldn't be able to gather like this. We wouldn't be able to live the lives that we're leading now. But it's more than just accepting our current position. It's about, you know, finding and insisting that we create this type of freedom and expand on this type of freedom for us and for so many groups who aren't experiencing that today. We know that we don't live in a fully equitable world. And by learning those lessons and by honoring the people who fought for freedom and fought for Emancipation Day, it, for me, gives me hope and gives me the tools and us the knowledge about how to continue that fight in the situations that we're in today. And so I'll leave my remarks there. But like I said, I am so proud of this community, the Bilal community, and so many other communities around Manitoba who have reached out and been passionate about celebrating Emancipation Day. And I've been honored to be the one to bring that forward in the legislature, to have August 1st recognized as Emancipation Day in Manitoba. So thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. We need more of you. We need more of your work. That's not the end of journey, the beginning of journey, but we don't know where that journey is going to end. So we'll continue with that. Akim Kanu, who I skip, is our comedy, going to send us the video outside of our province. I'm going to skip that. Is in okay. So I'm not going to skip that again. I'll give it I'll give Akim a floor. It's a comedy. It's a sort of a break that we are getting, but we are not going to take an official break. But when we listen to the poem, listen to the comedy, we are treating it as if it is a break, because we are going to be listening to that message. So with this, without nobody, I will give it a floor.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Can you hear me?
Hear you, yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. How are you guys? My name is Akeem Canoe. I actually go by Thomas. My mom just thought Akeem would be more formal to say for white people, but I don't know. I don't really consider myself a comedian too much. I just consider someone who's outgoing, understanding, free-spirited, and just likes to speak his mind. So thank you all for coming today and speaking what you had to say. I've learned a lot of information today that I didn't know prior. So thank you on that. But one thing I can't thank Emancipation Day for, or just what it's led to, is I was one of the few African-American kids who lived downtown that got to go to a school in a predominantly white area. So like I really got to see like the difference between going around people from Africa, immigrants, people who are minorities, as to people who are more privileged. And one thing I've learned for sure is the kids that people who become more privileged or white, they definitely know more about modern Black culture than we do. Like, as I've been around my own friends, I've never once heard any of them play NWA, Tupac, Ice Cube, anyone. The oldest my friends will ever go past is maybe 2010 early rap, maybe Lil Wayne, maybe Eminem, 50 Cent, that's about it. But every time, not one time has been missed. I'm with my Caucasian friends. You will hear the song "Today Was a Good Day" by Ice Cube. Word for word, they know the lyrics. Word for word, they know the culture, the music videos, the postures, everything about it. I'm not too sure what about NWA or Ice Cube speaks to my Caucasian friends, but something about the struggle really relates to them. But one thing I can appreciate though that I have learned from my Caucasian friends is just support, be open-minded and free. A lot of things you see in our community, people are too judgmental. They don't like to do things because they're not cool. Like with my white friends, when I go and hang out with them, we'll go for a walk. We'll go play tennis. We'll go to the forest just to take pictures to enjoy nature. If I tell any of my friends, hey, you want to go to the forest today? Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a picnic. They look at me like I'm crazy. They'll say, why? We can stay inside, play 2K. I say, why not Mother Nature? Why not enjoy what God has blessed us with? You know, but it comes with the territory. One thing I realized as well, I have such an appreciation for my Asian friends. Asian people are the closest things this world has to African Americans. There's no other race that will understand our struggle the way they do. For example, the country I'm from, Freetown, Sierra Leone, literally is where the Underground Railroad led to. My country is nothing but freed slaves. So I have an appreciation for them. Most Asian people I know though, they like to use the N-word more than we do. I don't know what part of the struggle they understand from that, but it's probably one of their favorite words. Every time my Filipino friends introduce me to one of their Filipinos, they always say, hey, this is Tom, this is I have to cut them off before they get themselves in trouble, you know? But it's nothing too crazy though, but that's all I have right now though. So I think that's close to 3 minutes. Sorry for misspeaking. I'm trying to be like close to the time. So I'll stop myself, mute my video, and let David continue.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. People are laughing, by the way. People understand your language. Very few of us don't understand. But some people know what you're saying, and it makes a lot of sense. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate. I'm going to go to the next speaker. Time-wise, we are good. Well, I'm very mindful, so I'm going to call Marcos Chambers, your Winnipeg Council.
Thank you, David. Everybody can hear me?
We do.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to bring greetings at the first annual acknowledgement of Emancipation Day on behalf of the city of Winnipeg. I do want to acknowledge that we are located within Treaty 1 territory, the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Inaway, Cree, Ojibwe, Dene, and Dakota people. We are the birthplace of the Métis Nation in the hearts of the Métis Nation homeland. As Canadians, we can never afford to forget Canada's history of slavery. This is a truth that has now been recognized by members of Canada's Parliament, who have officially designated August 1st as Emancipation Day. It was on that day in 1834 that Britain abolished slavery across the British Empire. Descendants of those enslaved continue to hope that there is real change when it comes to the racism that we still face today in a modern day context. I have high hopes that it will become more than just a political gesture, as I believe it's a start towards an official recognition that slavery was actually practiced here in Canada. While there has been a lot of aim to focus on the stories of triumph, such as the Underground Railway that brought 100 slaves and their families across and individuals to Canada for their first taste of freedom, or the many Blacks that had escaped the United States into Western Canada, but we still must acknowledge the role that Canada had in its early days in terms of slavery. It does take some digging to uncover this history, as an 1807 document listing 27 loyalists slaveholders who pressured the Nova Scotia Assembly to let them continue to keep their 88 slaves by arguing property in enslaved Negroes was to be maintained and acknowledged, if not encouraged, by the British government. Here in North America, we are taking actions to recognize the harms of our past in our Black and Indigenous communities. True reconciliation can only take place with the acknowledgement of our past face to face and a commitment to learn about it, understand it, confront it, and renew efforts to address the inequities and foster real inclusion. Recently, the Biden administration recognized a new national holiday in the United States called Juneteenth. Americans recognized June 17th, 2021 as Juneteenth, although April 16th, 1862 was officially marked as the date of abolition of slavery in the District of Columbia. Canada is learning about its own dark chapter in history that are without a revisionist lens and a clearer understanding of its role in colonialism, residential schools, and slavery, and other atrocities that can be and are often referred to as genocides. Moving forward, we must be willing to confront our history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We must find a way to have the difficult conversations that address how we build relationships and fully acknowledge and respect the vast economic, educational, spiritual, and cultural contributions of our Black community. And as a Black community, we must also remember to emancipate our minds and our spirits, allowing us to continue to contribute in limitless ways where we have been prohibited in the past. This will be a testament to our resiliency as a people, to what we have endured, to how we have overcome. So with that, I want to say on behalf of our mayor, Brian Bowman, and my colleagues on City Council, I want to thank you for this valued opportunity towards enhancing the quality of life in the city of Winnipeg and throughout the province of Manitoba for all people. Thank you very much. Merci and miigwech.
What a very powerful message. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. That's a very, very great message. I really appreciate it. You know, I have to put the name together with the face. When I was calling your name and when I see your face, now I connect the two. You are a great man. Keep up. The city of Winnipeg is a city of all of us. And it has to be all of us, even at a representation level. It has to be all of us in the community, in the police, where a lot of things are happening, on the road. So thank you so much. You are in a center of where things can be changed. So with that, I really acknowledge your powerful message. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to call Marcy Marcusa to have a comment and a briefing.
That's on, right? Yes. Okay. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank Mohadien for inviting me tonight and for asking me to say a couple of words. I also won't take up much space or time. I'm here not officially on behalf of CBC. I'm here because I want to be here and because I was invited. My name is Marcy Marcusa, and I host a morning show at CBC, and I've done that for 20 years. And before that, I host a television show. And before that, I worked in rural Manitoba. I'm born and raised here. I've worked in broadcasting and had a privilege of having a mic be part of what I do for a living for many, many years. And that privilege is not lost on me. And I work my best every day not to take it for granted as well. I acknowledge we're on Treaty 1 territory tonight, and it's really nice to be with community tonight. Many of you I've known for many years. Many of you I've met along the way, and some of you are new to me tonight as well. So I'm just meeting you. Sapphire, I loved your poem. Thank you for your words, powerful. And Reem, I want to thank you for participating in something we did on Canada Day. And it brings, kind of harkens back to some of the comments we heard earlier about what we're doing now in this country and in community and in Manitoba and what Canada is. And Reem was part of answering a question wasn't an interview, it was people filling in blanks of my Canada is. So we could really try to include and expand and hear people and hold space. I have to say that when Emancipation Day was officially recognized in this country in March, the first person's name that I thought of was Lukige Kisu. Some of you in Manitoba might know her. She had been, I met her a couple of years ago now. She was in grade 12 and she came to CBC. She was part of a project we did connecting with the students at St. John's. And we were talking to them, helping them with their projects and doing some work with them. And Lukige Kisu in one of the sessions when we were talking about interviewing and relating looked at me and she goes, "But Marcy, do you know that there's Black history in this country?" And she spoke passionately to me, to all of us, to a room. And I talked with her for quite some time, and it was almost a moment where you realize that you know, but you don't know. That we talk about things in this country and in our province, I think, and as a community, but we're in a moment now where, as Warren said, can we decolonize what we have adopted? Can we embrace our ignorance? And then what do we do with that? When I started at CBC, we were doing stories about, I think I actually met David through one of them, Lost Boys of Sudan. And we were doing stories, that was 20 years ago, about that, people coming to Manitoba in that way. And I think about today, we just finished a project, Black on the Prairies at CBC, but what about in between? What was the public broadcaster doing in between? And I think about that deeply. I covered the TRC and met many of the survivors in the Indigenous community at the Forks in 2010. That was 11 years ago. And I heard stories and they told of atrocities, and we did cover those stories, brought those conversations to air. But for me, it always becomes then what? And if we're now I think been in obviously in my home, I would have started, if you're doing the math, I was in my 20s. Now I'm nearly a woman of nearly 50. And I see new opportunity and new hope tonight, and in the people that I'm seeing here tonight, and in the people that I'm privileged to talk with and learn from each day in my work. And I just want to say that the only thing that has ever motivated me to do my work is to build community and to try to continue listening. And I think that as a new journalist, you know, I would be at all kinds of meetings and events and connecting with folks and getting to know everyone in community and all different facets of community in Manitoba. And I actually had a course a couple of years ago with some hosts from across the country from CBC, and one of them from Toronto, who'd also been in the work for a long time, who's now actually hosting the current Matt Galloway. He and I were talking about how you, especially if you're someone that has been privileged to have a microphone in a place like I have for so long, part of that privilege is knowing when you've stopped reaching out to community. You have to relearn community all the time. You have to continue to include, continue to learn, continue to listen, and listen being, you know, the top thing that I would say that is my mission. And I think that sometimes we get studio bound, and I think that sometimes we get into our deadlines and we get into what we're doing in that moment. And we all need to step back, especially now, and we need to connect and reconnect and understand what Manitoba is and where we're going. We need to make sure that Lukige's not asking that question when she comes to CBC, that she comes in and she says instead, "It was wonderful that I was included in leading that project about emancipation," or whatever it is. So I want to thank everyone for listening to me, giving me a couple of minutes tonight, and tell you that my door and my phone line is always open. It's really wonderful to be here, not in my usual structure, which is as an interviewer. And, I have 30 seconds. That's not the way people communicate, and it's not the way we should. So as we all evolve together, I look forward to learning and to listening. And thanks for your time.
Nice. Thank you so much. Yeah. For building a community, that's how I could put it. Building it by what you said, building it by how you connected to people. I would refer to you as a simplest person that can be found anywhere at any time when you need to access. People in the media, sometimes they brush off, but you're not. I'm not accusing them, but I'm saying it. So thank you so much for your time. I'm very happy because I know you very well. You're doing a great job in bringing our voice to the mainstream voices. It's not as simple. Now, I'm going to move to our next speaker. Time is pressing a little bit, but we are good. I'm going to call on Emma, and she's going to speak on inspiring the next generation, envision the future they deserve. And this is a very important part because the reason why we have this event is to educate the young one, so that the young one will know the past, and then they move on to the future with the knowledge of what happened in the past. So you are highly welcome, Emma.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for the Bilal Community Center for asking me to speak about this topic. Yeah, so my name is Rima Mahi, and currently I'm the president of the Black Student Union here in Winnipeg at the University of Manitoba. And so before accepting this position, I'd never been involved in student government or clubs in high school or in elementary school. It wasn't until my friend Dina, another Black Muslim student, gathered other Black students at the U of M, and together we formed the Black Student Union, and it was all virtual. And so the formation of our club was happening right as the Black Lives Matter took off, the Black Lives Matter movement took off. This movement was, of course, sparked by the murder of George Floyd, and the phrase Black Lives Matter wasn't as controversial at all as it once was. And it brought more attention to Black issues like lack of media, racial bias in healthcare, and realizing that there's racism in our everyday, day-to-day life. And so today I thought I'd come and bring some pointers to the Black youth to be agents of social change. So first and foremost, and these are all from my experience, what I learned really helped me come to this position and feel confident in speaking my mind. Yeah, so first and foremost, you need to seek a group of Black people who will support you in your journey. So having that support group of Black people, it makes it easy to find your voice because you're sharing that similar experience. And once you have those people in your life, you're able to have those meaningful conversations. And so a way to do this is to join clubs like a Black Student Union if you have one, or make friends at a mosque or masjid, or even like the Bilal Community Center once it opens up. And then secondly, is something you have to more of learn is get comfortable being uncomfortable. Putting yourself out there and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is really going to build your confidence, and it can be nerve-wracking. Like I'm a little nervous right now, and I just want to say thank you so much, Marcy. I wasn't really sure you would remember me, but I recognized you instantly. And so when the opportunity came to speak for CBC, or I think earlier, I had an opportunity through the Black Student Union to go on radio. I was really nervous and was hesitant to do so because I didn't really think that I would be the right person to speak. I didn't think I'd be eloquent enough, or I would say the wrong thing. But then I just took a step back and I realized, like, okay, if I'm not going to speak, then who's going to speak for me? Like I have this opportunity, someone has handed it to me to speak my mind, talk about issues that I find important, and really shine a light and give other people more perspective. So I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and did that. And in general, joining the Black Student Union and becoming president was something that I never anticipated I was going to do. Like I said earlier, I didn't really have any experience in it, and I'm kind of shy. So it's just when you find these opportunities, just try, and that's all I did when I I'm still in this position. I just try my best and do my best and just hope for it. And so things like these are nerve-wracking, but it's important to, when I say get comfortable being uncomfortable, it's important to say what you need to say. Call out the person if they're being racist, even if it makes everyone else sort of uncomfortable in the sense that you broke like an unspoken social rule. And it's not rude. It's perfectly fine to say those type of things, to call people out. And so the next point I want to make is educate yourself. So we've all heard that phrase, but it's kind of daunting to just, okay, let me educate myself. Let me just open up Google and Black issues. Like that's kind of hard. So you need to start with something. Start with what interests you, what you're curious about, and then go on for there. For me, that was, I enjoyed learning about issues that affected Black women primarily. Things like colorism, misogynoir. So misogynoir is basically like sexism, but centered about Black women, like how sexism specifically targets them. And that made me want to learn more. And then now I'm slowly learning more about other factors within Black issues. And so, yeah, the last two things I want to mention is be involved in your community and be a good ally. So being involved in your community, if you're in high school, attend school board meetings, be involved in your student council, ask around question what you're learning in school, talk to your teachers, form a Black student union if there isn't one. And if you're in university, form a club if there isn't a club for you. And also make sure you're paying attention to what your student union is advocating for. Attend their meetings, read up on what motions are being passed. I know it can be very daunting, but you need to try. And just in general, contact your local representatives, ask them how they're going to prioritize Black issues. And remember that they're meant to represent you. So that it's very important to know what they're up to. And of course, make sure you vote. And all of these things are very, very mundane, but they need to be done. You can go to a protest and of course meet people there as well, but know that not all of this progress is going to be exhilarating, because we know when going to a protest, it can be a rush of emotions, and it's really an amazing opportunity and experience. But a lot of advocacy comes from doing mundane things, like being really meticulous and actually studying and understanding what is going on around you. And then lastly, be a good ally. Understand that we can and should uplift others of other marginalized groups. So it's important to read up on what other people are doing, what other communities are going through, and how you can help them. So, and with that being said, I'll just end off with a quote sort of related to that. So as long as poverty, injustice, and gross inequality persist in our world, none of us can truly rest. And that's a quote from Nelson Mandela. So something to keep in mind when you move through your journey. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I like some of the points that you highlighted. They are very relevant to the youth situation. So that's how you engage the youth to continue to fit. And that is very important. So thank you for that. As I said, the time is pressing, but it's good. I'm going to move to the next speaker, which is Judy Williams, Grassroots Actions. It's a person that is from Municipal Relations Department, Province of Manitoba. So Judy, you're highly welcome.
Hello. Hello, David and everyone. My name is Judy Williams. I am the daughter of George and Frances Atwell, the great-great-granddaughter of Nellie Freeman and enslaved Black women. During my social work training, I traced my family roots back to enslavement on both my mother and father's sides of the family. My lighter-skinned great-grandmother on my father's side was the daughter of an owner of stolen bodies, enslaved people. My mother's great-grandmother, Nellie Freeman, was released by her owner when she was 12 years old with her two young sisters. They were given the name Freeman and traveled north to St. Paul, Minnesota, and then to Winnipeg, Canada in 1905. I am also one of the sisters of a great storyteller, a musician, a community builder, Jerry Atwell. Jerry was described as a connector and collaborated with people and organizations. He initiated community development grants that brought change into many Winnipeg neighborhoods Jerry was a gifted writer, composer, and curator. He was a close friend and mentor to many. Jerry was active at the St. Norbert Arts Center for 25 years in various roles. He was a close friend and mentor to many, as I mentioned. The St. Norbert Arts Center launched Jerry Fest, an arts festival dedicated to his life and work last year in recognition of Jerry's community involvement, his dedication to addressing racism, and his passion to tell stories about the experiences of Black Canadians. Although both our parents were very active in community groups in Winnipeg, today I will focus this presentation on our father, George Atwell, and highlight some of the community groups where he was involved. George was the oldest child in his family and traveled from Trinidad to Winnipeg in 1947 to attend school at the University of Manitoba. George was 22 years of age and wanted to be an architect. After 1 year of school, with money running out, George got work as a railroad porter, joined the Naval Reserve, and enrolled in a teacher education program at St. Paul's College. During the 50s and 60s, the international student movement on campus at the University of Manitoba was very active. Students coming from the Caribbean islands met and formed various organizations, many that are still active today. The U of Manitoba's United West Indies Student Association, or WUSA, was formed in the 50s and was the very first Caribbean organization in Winnipeg. Students from every quarter of the West Indies and from both universities were involved. When immigration laws became more liberal in the 1960s, West Indians who had been given student visas and landed immigrant status applied for full citizenship and started to sponsor their relatives. Many of the students that had come to Manitoba graduated and stayed in Manitoba. West Indian women who had come as domestics and nannies completed their contracts and started other careers here as well. Our father settled in Winnipeg. His brothers John, Harold, and sister Phyllis joined him at the University of Manitoba and later established their lives in Canada as well. There were many spin-offs from the West Indian Students Association. As students graduated, they started several other organizations. These included the St. Vincent and Grenadine Association of Manitoba, the Barbados Association, the Jamaican Association of Manitoba, the Trinidad and Tobago Society of Winnipeg, the Black History Month Celebration Committee formed by a late family friend, Judy Williams. This organization is still very active today and is known as Black History Manitoba. These student-led grassroots organizations had mandates to promote unity and share cultures of origin with offspring and the public, to socialize, share food, celebrate Independence Days, provide a strong sense of belonging, and assist community members who find themselves in difficult situations. These groups encourage people to develop to their full potential, providing mentorship and work to address all forms of racism, challenging the status quo with a goal of equity. Other initiatives that came from these organizations included the Harambe Housing Co-op, BEAM, the Black Educators of Manitoba, the Black Youth Hotline, as well as several businesses, Caribbean food stores like Dino's, India Spice, restaurants like Dean's Diner, Tropicus, Verna's, Bindy's, musicians such as the Winnipeg Steel Drum Orchestra, Carabello, and Rock Calypso. Our father's involvement with several of these organizations continued from his student life throughout his lifetime. His involvement with the Afro-Caribbean Association of Manitoba and the Caribbean Association of Winnipeg, Caricana, led to his participation on the planning committees of these pavilions at Folklorama. As children, we would have a role to play to assist putting price tags on pavilion merchandise, helping in the kitchen, and later as pavilion volunteers or committee members. My parents continued to be active members of the Caribbean Seniors Group into their 90s. Members would take turns scheduling a presentation or preparing a lunch for the meal for the events. When residents work together to make change, create welcoming spaces for others, break down barriers with a focus on creating equity for all, it makes a difference. This was evident during the past year with the COVID-19 pandemic. It was encouraging to see community groups working together to actively support families and filling in gaps with programs and supports. The energy, compassion, thoughtfulness that goes into the formation of community groups like the Bilal Community and Family Center should be recognized. Well, this has been a very emotional few weeks for me, leading up to this date, August 1st.
Thank you.
When we celebrate the 1834 abolition of the Slavery Act. That was not even 200 years ago, 3, 4, 5 generations for most of us. We must recognize and make time to understand intergenerational trauma of enslavement and its effect on each of us. The formation of many of our community groups have likely helped us with
Judy,
this healing
can I
process.
remind you to summarize yours?
Okay. Bringing the solidarity needed. Today, I think about my ancestors who were enslaved and wonder what hopes and dreams they held for us, their children. We are on the right track, however. The entire effect of true emancipation cannot be realized when we still have racism in Canada. It was truly an honor to speak today at the celebration on the first recognized Emancipation Day in Canada. Thank you. As my father, George Atwell, would say, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Judy. It's a very rich content, but I am pressure. I apologize to you if I interrupted you in any way, and this is for the good of others. So with this, I'm going to go. We are left with about 3 speakers, and we are almost there. And these are a few minutes. Judy is the one with the 7 minutes, but the rest are 3.5. So now I'm going to go to Ali. Ali Babakar is a CEO for a Systemic Challenges Black-led organization FACE, and this is going to be a video.
Hello, greetings. My name is Ali Abukar, and I am the CEO of Saskatoon Open Door Society. I'm originally from Somalia, a former refugee. I identify as a Black African man. Why am I speaking at this virtual event today? When the opportunity to speak came and to share at this virtual event commemorating Emancipation Day Canada, I thought that this is an important opportunity for me to speak. To speak to the current struggles our Black community faces. It is a critical time in which change is possible and must be attained for a just, equitable, and more inclusive Canada, where Black Canadians, especially current and future generations, thrive and succeed. Emancipation Day commemorates the Abolition of Slavery Act, which became law on August 1st, 1834. This act freed more than 800,000 people of African descent throughout the British Empire. Since then, Emancipation Day has been celebrated on or around August 1 each year. I say we're in a critical time because of what we have seen in recent years, and especially last year after the death of George Floyd, an uprising, a movement that demanded change, a systemic change for Black people. And one of those changes that I wanted to speak is the challenges that Black-led organizations, especially Black-led nonprofit organizations, face. I work for Saskatoon Open Door Society, a nonprofit, a charitable organization that serves newcomers to Canada in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And of course, I'm Black, but this organization is not founded by Black people. I happen to be the chief executive officer of this organization, the leader of this organization, but this organization is established an organization that has existed and has been around for 40 years. What I'm talking about is not these kind of organizations, although when they're led by Black people, they also fall into the same category. But what I want to focus more are the organizations that are founded or created by Black people and are led by Black people and are still either new or in their infancies or still face a lot of struggle, a lot of challenges because of the systemic barriers that Black people and Black-led organizations face. These challenges are many, but I'm going to just mention a few. The main challenge that these organizations face is lack of funding or inadequate funding. Another one is lack of capacity to navigate the funding regime for nonprofit sector and lack of mentorship. Those are the struggles the most, those that struggle the most are the organizations that are new and serve the ethnocultural communities, the newest of newcomer communities that are mostly racialized, that are not well established as well. So we need equitable access to funding and resources. It's important for the Black-led organizations to have access to dedicated funding resources. It's always easy to talk and have conversations, but to be honest, as a Black community, and I can speak for myself and also in general, I think for the Black community, we're done with talking, to be honest. We need to see action. We need to have action-oriented plan to move forward. We're very pleased to see some considerations for the federal funding to support Black people and to have just and equitable funding resources. We want to see more, especially for the non-for-profit organizations that are led by Black people. Black communities and their leaders are tired of speaking and bringing these issues, challenges to the attention of our various levels of governments. And we need meaningful changes, and we need them now. As Black community leaders, we need to see resources put in the hands of the communities that need them the most. We need to build their capacity, the capacity of these Black-led organizations. We need structural changes in eligibility to government funding. We need mentorship for the Black-led organizations, for Black-led community-based nonprofit organizations, so that they can continue to meet the needs of their communities. So we'd like to see structural changes into not only the federal government funding regime, but also provincial and municipal and other donor sectors that provide funding, whether it is foundations or other granting agencies, to ensure that nonprofit organizations that are led by Black people have equitable and just access to those resources, but also to get mentorship and capacity building so that they can compete. In general, the playing field is not level, it's not the same. So these organizations are not at the same level as other organizations, the mainstream organizations, and we need to make sure that those are changed and are changed now. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I am very happy that I can participate even virtually and through recording. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We thank Ali for recorded a message. It's well put together. We are left with one speaker, and I'm going to take a discretion of reducing 5 minutes to 3 minutes, such that we will be within time frame. Then after that, we will have a video similar to what we have had. So while we are listening to that video in 3 minutes too, we'll be preparing to leave. So I'm going to call Lacey Marsano to have a closer remark before we listen to that video. Welcome. And I have reduced your 5 minutes to 3 minutes because of my discretions.
Okay, thank you, David. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Felicia. I am sure that you will agree with me that this event has been very successful and illuminating as well. I would, on behalf of Bilal community, I would like to thank a few people for making today's event a success. Bilal Community and Family Center is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to providing a wide range of social services such as after-school programs, summer youth programs, ESL classes, counseling services for families, career coaching, as well as seminars and orientation services to empower Winnipeg immigrant youth to achieve social and economic success. We are happy to let you know that today we opened up a COVID center, COVID vaccination center at the center itself from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and provided language translation for the many newcomers who are struggling to find accessible information. We want to thank the community for turning out in such large numbers and the many volunteers who made this possible. We invite you to visit our website at bilalcommunitycenter.ca to learn more about our programs and services and to find out about how you can join us in making a change. For today's event, we would like to especially thank David Atom for accepting our invitation and for speaking and for emceeing in such an eloquent manner. We would also like to thank Sarah Gilmard, Sophia McLeod, Uzoma Sagara, Warren Clark, Jamie Moses, Akimanu, Marcus Chambers, Marcy Makusa, George Munga, Rim Elma, Ali Abukar, Judy Williams, and Tasha Spillett for accepting our invitation and sharing their very wonderful presentations with us, and also helping us to reflect on the progress that we have made as people of African descent and the challenges that lie ahead of us. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the leadership of Imam Muhyiddin Omar, who is at once Imam Board President, Executive Director of the Bilal Community, Outreach Worker, Program Developer, Youth and Family Mentor, Social Worker, and a proud member of the Somalian community, along with a team of irrevocably dedicated collaborators, including Kadar Ahmed, Antenna Abraha, Sultan Ali and his administrative assistants and tech team, the board chair, Kathleen Buddle, and the full board of directors, as well as the executive team and a wide community of committed and dedicated volunteers. We would also like to thank Canada Heritage Federal Anti-Racism Secretariat for funding this Regional Emancipation Day event. And finally, would like to thank you all, each and every one of you, for making time to join this event, this very historic event, and we hope to see you again at our future events. Have a good evening and bonsoir.
Thank you. You see, I'm already guilty by what I said. You know, you're a great speaker and I reduce your time, so I'm quite guilty on that.
It's okay, David.
You are a great speaker. I'm very, very, very humble. You are a great speaker, and I mean it. Now, we come to the end of the program, and we are going to play a video that was is titled Voicemail, and its plot is a Broadway neighborhood center, I think, that perform video. And this video, this song edited by Emmanuel Bongar, and the speaker here listed is George Munga. So I'm going to let that play. And maybe for some of you that may be leaving while you're listening to this, I really want to repeat myself and to take another minute or less than minute, a second, to repeat myself and say, you know what a great honor that you have given me today. The center has accorded me this opportunity to come and be a MC. It's all this are a blessing. I'm going to my house with a clear, open, happy heart, clear brain, fed with a lot of information. So thank you again. I will repeat myself later on, and in case if you leave and you haven't heard that from me, thank you so much again. For a lack of better word, I would have said something else. So we go to that video, and that will be the end of our day.
Yo, what's up, Winnipeg's Young Geo? This first song is called Voicemail. Hope y'all like it. Let's go. Yeah, can you please call me 'cause you're beautiful? Just pick up the phone and I give it all. I just really wanna talk, maybe ask you out. Dream about it, girl, so let's just make it happen now. I was calling asking just to ask you on a date. I would treat you right and get your steak on a plate. I got all these feelings and it's not a mistake. You didn't pick up my call, but it's not too late. I left a voicemail for you, so call me when you see it. You don't have a man yet, and I'm just trying to be it. I've had these feelings to myself, I can no longer keep it. Girl, you never answer, and I wonder what's the reason. Left another voicemail, told you about tickets. 2 seats at a game, but I'm guessing that you miss it. I'm slowly getting tired, just reaching and reaching out. I need to hear your voice speaking. I'm tired of these voicemails. Cause every time I call, it's a fail. I wanna hear your voice this time. If you just pick up the phone, I will make you mine. I'm tired of these voicemails. Cause every time I call, it's a fail. I wanna hear your voice this time. If you just pick up the phone, I will make you mine, yeah. Tired, like I'm talking to a wall. I keep trying, but you won't give me a call. I'm so tired, like I'm talking to a wall. I keep trying, but you won't give me a call. So sick of the voicemails. I wanna hear your voice, can you not tell? So sick of the voicemails. I wanna hear your voice, can you not? I'm tired of these voicemails. Cause every time I call, it's a fail. I wanna hear your voice this time. If you just pick up the phone, I will make you mine. I'm tired of these voicemails. Cause every time I call, it's a fail. I wanna hear your voice this time. If you just pick up the phone, I will make you mine, yeah. Yo, this next song is called Splash. Hope y'all like it. Let's go. I make it splash like I'm Curry, run to the money, I hurry up. Living my life and I'm big balling. Ain't got no regrets cause I'm all in. I make it splash like I'm Curry, run to the money, I hurry up. Living my life and I'm big balling. Ain't got no regrets cause I'm a third splash, brother, how I'm making the rain. And I be going with the flow, I ain't got no pain. And I'm a champion, every year collecting a ring. I put my head to the bed and I start to sleep. Get the money in the bank, get it fast, I can't wait. Yeah, eyes on the prize and I semi go straight. I'm the early bird, I ain't never late. Diamonds on me dripping, got me wetter than a lake. Thought I wasn't better, so they made a mistake. I got the homies by my side and we just starting to fade. You eating Mickey D's, want a mini stick at the plate. Yeah, I always got a pen because I know it's a stake. Okay, yeah, vibing with the homies, sipping fine on the late night. Hopping on the games with the squad, going FaceTime. Homies call me Curry cause I'm only pulling straight dimes. He be dropping down, but I be getting down for date nights. I make it splash like a Curry, run to the money, I hurry up. Living my life and I'm big balling. Ain't got no regrets cause I'm all in. I make it splash like I'm Curry, run to the money, I hurry up. Living my life and I'm big balling. Ain't got no regrets. I be living life, I'm just trying to find the one that I love. Someone to hold it down, someone who really knows I'm enough. A girl to be by my side 24/7. I go when I'm with her, it just feels like I'm in heaven. She ain't gotta be bad, she just gotta be nice. A girl gon' be loyal to me even at night. I just wanna love where we don't gotta fight. But when I see her, it's a beautiful sight. I start to think that maybe I just gotta slow down. Life ain't always perfect, that's when how things go around. I know that with the guys, I'm always safe and sound. But when you turn up, yeah, we really party loud at the end of the day. I make it splash like I'm Curry, run to the money, I hurry up. Living my life and I'm big balling. Ain't got no regrets cause I'm all in. I make it splash like I'm Curry, run to the money, I hurry up. Living my life and I'm big balling. Ain't got no regrets cause I'm all in.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. I'm happy that Marcy Makusa is still there. Listen to that young man, Rena. Those one are very, very, very touching. And also Rema, I think she already interviewed her, was sweating, but it's okay now. So, you know, those are the things that you have highlighted a lot in this community. And without further ado, I'm going to call it a day. And I wanted to repeat myself and say thank you. You honored us. We did not honor you by accepting our invitation to be part of this very important event. All those events, all those big days, they started like this. So long as it become an official holiday, we have to show it to people how that is important to us, to our kid, to our grandkid, and moving it forward. So without further ado, I want to acknowledge, I have a crew of the team here in this room. It's like a crew like those of Marcio Marcosa may know how they set up. I went to CVC a couple of times. So you see everybody is carrying something. I have a crew here that I want to acknowledge, led by Anthony. And this Anthony is a young man that has connected me to the center actually, because he came to my office in 2018 or 2017, inviting me and wanting me to participate and help young one from here. That's how I got connected to this center. That credit goes to him because it was the one who came to me. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, the crew, the entire team of the Malala community, the executive director, Mar, everybody that has participating in this, our guests. Let's call it a day. For the lack of better word, thank you.